Council. National Human Rights Commission probes Army's alleged 10,000 forced abortions plus. Myanmar marks 2 years since military coup. Hello, this is News Live on Viewer Television. I am Jennifer Okolo. Many thanks for joining us. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the Governing Council Board of Directors and the Executive Management Team of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated at the Council Chambers of the State House, Abuja. At the official lunch which preceded this week's Federal Executive Council meeting, Buhari tasked the new Governing Council and Board to raise the value of the MOFI's portfolio from the current 18 trillion naira to 100 trillion naira by 2033. In his address, the president said the new leadership will take steps to mobilize capital and invest in assets that are critical in the federal government revenue drive. This, he said, would involve reviving and restructuring non-performing assets, turning them into aggressive cash flow generating entities. According to Buhari, the inauguration of Governing Council Board and Executive Management Team became necessary to optimize returns on existing investments. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungunu, has expressed concern over the increase in number of youths in the country joining armed groups. According to him, the scourge must be discouraged while efforts are being made to de-radicalize those already armed. Mungunu, who was represented by the National Coordinator, National Counter-Terrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor, Rear Admiral Yam Musa, spoke at the workshop on amnesty management, the radicalization and community-based reintegration in Abuja. He also warned that the amnesty repeatedly granted by the government at different levels to armed groups could be counterproductive in the absence of any established policy. Meanwhile, also speaking, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Catriona Lynch, noted that while amnesty and voluntary DDR processes are essential components of successful conflict resolution, impunity should not be encouraged. Moving on, the Supreme Court on Wednesday fixed February 6 for final judgment in the long-drawn legal battle over the authenticity of the senatorial candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC) for Yobe North Senatorial District. Entangled in the legal battle for the senatorial ticket are the incumbent Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Bashir Machina. The Apex Court fixed the judgment date after taking arguments from the Council of the All Progressive Congress and Bashir Machina. Justice Santos Weze, who presided over a 5-man panel of justice of the court, fixed the date. APC, which is rooted for Senate President Ahmed Lawan as its senatorial candidate, filed the appeal against the judgments of the Federal High Court and Court of Appeal, which held Bashir Machina as the party's candidate. Now, the National Human Rights Commission will commence an investigation into a report that the Nigerian Army had been running a secret abortion program since at least 2013, for which about 10,000 pregnancies have been aborted, its Executive Secretary Tony Ojukwu has revealed. Already, the Commission said it would on February 7, 2023, inaugurate a special independent investigative panel on human rights violations in the implementation of counterinsurgency operations in the Northeast. An international news agency, Reuters, had accused the Nigerian Army of running a program where forceful abortions were carried out on female victims of Boko Haram Islamic State in West African province. The report claimed that the army carried out the abortions without the person's consent and that at least 10,000 pregnancies had been illegally terminated. These were contained in an investigation published by the news agency in December 2022. Ojukwu, in a statement issued by the Deputy Director of Public Affairs and External Linkages, Fatima Mohammed, stated that the panel will, among other things, focus in investigating Reuters reports which alleged the Nigerian military was involved in abortion of many pregnancies in the Northeast in the last 10 years. Well, the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has faulted the timing of the Naira redesign, saying the move makes no political or economic sense. He said though the policy was the right way to go in achieving the desired change for the country, hence the timing and deadline set for the it negated its purpose. While exonerating President Muhammadu Buhari from the mess, El-Rufai said some unnamed people were exploiting the president's desire to enthrone a working Nigeria to frustrate his efforts. The governor also explained that Buhari had, during his first stint as Nigeria's head of state, redesigned the Naira without hitches. Now, when News Live returns, the Independent National Electoral Commission says the current fuel scarcity in the country might affect logistics arrangements for the general elections. Details of this and more comes to you right after the break.
Souls came together. Two souls came together. They're not murder.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
Back if you're just joining us, this is News Live. Here's a recap of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates Ministry of Finance Board Council. National Human Rights Commission probes Army's alleged 10,000 forced abortions. Plus, Myanmar marks 2 years since military coup. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said that the current fuel scarcity in the country might affect logistic arrangements for the February 25th and March 11th general elections. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu made this known in Abuja at a consultative meeting with the transport unions, such as the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners and the National Union of Road Transport Workers, among others. The electoral chief also urged transporters to be neutral and non-partisan as they commute INEC staff to and from polling units. He said interstate trips won't be allowed, saying all INEC and ad hoc staffers must not be moved beyond their local government areas. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Universities has said it was not in the purview of the National Universities Commission and other tertiary institutions regulatory agencies to shut schools to allow students in universities, polytechnics and colleges of education to vote during the forthcoming elections. A member of the National Executive Council of ASU and chairperson of the union at the Federal University of Technology, Mina, Professor Bolayan Bolarin, said this in an interview with Newsmen. He was reacting to calls from individuals and groups, including the House of Representatives, that the nation's higher institutions should be shut during elections so that students who registered near their homes can return home to vote. Newsmen report that the House of Representatives last week Thursday passed a resolution asking the NUC to shut universities so that the students can take part in the forthcoming elections. Well, the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Leonard, has reiterated her country's support for transparent and credible elections that reflects the will of the people, adding that the U.S. will favor no candidate in the coming elections. This is coming 24 days before the presidential election, which is contested by candidates of 18 political parties. She also declared the country will not influence or favor any candidate vying for the topmost position. Leonard, who spoke during a one-day multi-stakeholders dialogue titled Nigeria's 2023 Elections, Fostering Youth Action for Peace and Stability in Abuja, stated that the elections presented an opportunity for Nigeria to solidify its place as a democratic leader in Africa. The program, held in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency and Building Blocks, the Peace Foundation, was to scale up conversations to ensure inclusivity. Well, Nigerian researchers engaged in the Tertiary Education Trust Fund-sponsored vaccine development mega research project at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, have handed over the COVID-19 DNA vaccine candidates for preclinical trials in Nigeria. The academics, in a symbolic handover of the vaccine candidates in Sokoto State, said despite the numerous challenges faced during the procurement of some of the consumables, equipment and reagents from abroad within 11 months of the receipt of the first tranche of the Tedford grant, the vaccine was ready. Speaking at the presentation, Vice Chancellor of Usman Danfodio University, Professor Lawal Bilby, said the handing over of a vaccine candidate for trials goes a long way to showcase the ability of indigenous scientists to solve the nation's problems using homegrown resources and facilities. He assured that the nation is very close to reaping the benefits of the investment. He further added that the researchers will converge in the next few months to celebrate the successful completion of the projects. Well, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has suspended 2 registration centers for collecting 6,500 naira from candidates for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination e-form PIN instead of the authorized 5,700. Speaking at the JKK Computer-Based Test Center Ilupeju, Lagos, while monitoring the registration process across Lagos, Registrar JAM Professor Ishak Oloyede called for the immediate blockage of the access and activities of the Parkway Project and digital partners on the JAM portal for extorting candidates. He added that another JAM agent, eTransact, was also under suspension for not complying with the rules and regulations of the board. Oloyede also emphasized that the registration time would not be extended beyond February 14, 2023, saying that the board expected registration of 100,000 per day, but just recently it had been within 62,000 per day. Recall that JAM announced the closure of some substandard CBT centers, which reduced the number of CBT centers across the country. You're still watching News Live on Viewer Television. Business, international, and entertainment news comes to you right after this break. Do stay tuned.
Pararam pra reparar, estão ouvindo esse som, pulsando seco no ar, merece nossa atenção. Preparem bem os sensores para poder captar. Parem usinas, motores.
Morning, gentlemen. I'm at the Envoy Hotel, Diplomatic Drive 305, here for a business weekend. It's been an amazing stay. Conference hall and business facilities here are stylish and innovative. The Envoy Hotel is luxury, esoteric, opulent, for ultimate comfort.
Discerning travelers, we are more than just a place to stay. We are an icon of comfort, style, and thoughtful luxury. We are Envoy Hotel.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now on business news, the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has assured Nigerians that despite the deadline of February 10th to phase out old notes, commercial banks will continue to accept the old notes as provided in Section 20, Subsection 3 of the CBN Act. Emefiele made this clarification on Tuesday when he finally appeared before the House Ad Hoc Committee on the swap new Naira notes. In his presentation, the CBN governor noted that the introduction of the new Naira notes was long overdue, but despite the delay, it has helped in curbing insecurity, banditry, as well as revamp the economy.
More than 2.7 trillion Naira were outside the banking system. More than 2.7 trillion Naira is held in people's homes. What that does is that it makes our mandate of monetary policy very difficult.
He further clarified insinuations on insufficient resigned Naira notes in circulation by assuring that CBN staff and about 159 million are supporting CBN to ensure that the new currency reach all local government areas in the country.
We are lucky that we have in Central Bank, there's hardly anybody who says that in his locality there's nobody working in Central Bank. All over the 36s of the country. Those people, I doff my heart for them. They've left their job in the last 3.5 weeks. They have been in the villages, in the localities. They take cash, even when the banks are a little bit lackadaisical about it. They take cash from the CBN, maybe take like 5 million. They go to those localities and do cash exchange.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the committee, Al-Hassan Dogowa, while commending the efforts of the Apex Bank, berated it for not carrying the parliament along in its actions. He said the hardship Nigerians were facing due to scarcity of funds necessitated the action of the parliaments.
The crisis would not have come up at all. Nigerians would have gone home to sleep without any fear of let or hindrance. So I want to thank you so much for coming up with this submission, most especially your last statement, the confession you made about the position of the law, that the bank will at all times respect as sacrosanct the position of the laws of the land, of course, which is an act that established the central bank and also provided for the establishment of your good office as governor of the central bank.
According to CBN, the exercise has achieved over 75% success in villages across the 774 local government areas in the country. Also, in its efforts to ensure compliance to the new Naira redesign policy, the Central Bank of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, visited some deposit money banks and public spaces to investigate the ascertained level of compliance. The Joint Task Force, led by Dr. Abubakar Abdullahi, a CBN Director and MD National Microfinance Bank, responded to secret information of racketeering of the new Naira notes around some banks in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. 3 people were arrested in connection with the sales of the new notes. The team leader said they will continue to monitor and take necessary action to deal with persons or groups involved in the racketeering. Well, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Adebayo, said that the federal government has recorded more than $1 billion worth of investment in the automotive industry. Adebayo said this when he featured at the 20th edition of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration scorecard series organized by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture in Abuja, while disclosing that the review of the National Automotive Industry Development Plan NAIDP is nearly completed. He said that the plan was going through validation process. Adebayo restated the ministry's commitment toward enabling business environment to attract and retain investments. According to him, the ministry and the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council (NIPC) are committed to attracting and protecting investments that genuinely benefit Nigeria and its citizens. Moving on to the digital economy, the World Bank says with what Nigeria has done so far in the area of broadband penetration and internet connectivity, the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy of the country, NDEPS, is on course. The World Bank Country Director, Shubham Chaudhuri, stated this while speaking on the sidelines of the Maiden Digital Economy Regional Conference in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. The 2-day conference has as its theme Positioning West Africa Digital Economy for the Future. The World Bank Country Director further said there was great potential in Nigeria's digital economy, but emphasized the need for more reforms going forward. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, while speaking, stated that by April this year, every state in Nigeria would have federal government optic fiber cable coverage. And the news around the world, Equatorial Guinea has gained its first female prime minister after Manuela Bote was appointed to the post by President Teodoro Basogo. Bote had been the Minister for National Education, University Education and Sport since August 2020. She was also the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Letters and Social Sciences at the National University of Equatorial Guinea. Bote replaces former Prime Minister Francisco Asio, who held this position for nearly 8 years. Equatorial Guinea has been ruled by President Teodoro Basogo since 1979, when he overthrew his uncle Francisco Nguema in a coup. Now 80 years old, Teodoro is the world's longest-serving head of state, excluding monarchs. Well, China has called for an end to the China threat theory after the leaders of Japan and NATO shared concerns over Beijing's growing military cooperation with Russia. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning made the appeal in a regular briefing on Wednesday. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in Tokyo on Tuesday. The two leaders pledged to strengthen their partnership in the face of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and rising competitiveness with China. Mao said Japan should earnestly draw close And as they draw lessons rather from history and stick to the path of peaceful development and refrain from undermining the trust among countries in the region or regional stability. She also said that Asia-Pacific region is not a battlefield for geopolitical contest and does not welcome the Cold War mentality.
北约一方面声称自己是不断加强同亚太国家的军事安全联系，渲染中国威胁。有关动向应当引起地区国家的高度警惕。中国始终是世界和地区和平稳定的维护者，在热点问题上，我们始终积极劝和促谈，推动局势降温。北约应当认真思考自己为维护欧洲安全发挥了什么作用。我想强调的是，亚太不是地缘争夺的战场，不欢迎冷战思维、阵营对抗。
Moving on, pro-democracy activities in Myanmar are holding a silent strike to mark 2 years since a military coup. Protesters have urged the public to remain indoors and for businesses to close for Wednesday anniversary. The call came as the UK, US, Canada and Australia announced fresh sanctions against army-linked firms. According to the UN, more than 1.2 million people are displaced from their homes.
The military is using what it has, which is brute force, used indiscriminately to attack anything they think is a target. And that often means shelling villages, it means burning down villages, it means shooting civilians.
Now, the military administration on Wednesday extended a state of emergency for 6 months. It had previously said the country was facing unusual circumstances, prompting fresh doubt over its pledge to hold an election this year. An exhibition of anti-war drawings was unveiled in Russia despite government efforts to snuff out any criticism of President Vladimir Putin's assault on Ukraine. Elena Osipova, a 77-year-old protest artist from Russia's second city, St. Petersburg, presented 15 of her drawings created between 2014 and 2022. Since the start of the military campaign in Ukraine, all public criticism has been outlawed, including the words war and invasion. A number of prominent and ordinary Russians have been given lengthy prison terms for publicly opposing the Kremlin's offensive in the Western country. Osipova, who has been a critic of the Kremlin for many years, said she was not afraid of speaking out.
Моя страна, моя родина, понимаете? Почему я не могу что-то сказать или сделать мирно, без оружия? Что именно вот эти события, они рождают творчество. Понимаете, какая-то появляется необыкновенная энергия, когда люди переживают это все.
Well, on entertainment news, Sunny Ade will perform at a music performance on Easter Sunday, April 9, 2023 at the Federal Radio Corporation ground in Ijede, Ikorodu, Lagos, along with other musical performers like Famakin Michael and others. Assistant Content Overseer and Region Pastor 26 of RCCG, Pastor Dele Oluwako, made this known in a chat with newsmen. Oluwako stated that I have never encountered it before and I have never been here, but I was made aware of the praise encounter prior to my deployment to the zone. Those attending the ceremony will include politicians, traditional leaders, including Oba Kabir and captains of industry. Well, the family and management of late Baby Nigeria star Rico Suave have announced plans to share his works with the world. According to the statement on the late musician's Twitter account, the family and management of late Rico Suave have announced their plans to release works of the late singer to the public, which include of his hit singles This Life and Mine. Patrick Fakoyo, the former Baby Ninja Season 3 housemate, died October 2022 at the age of 29. Two of his closest friends and former co-workers posted on their social media profiles to share the news of his passing. On October 20, 2022, the deceased lawyer turned singer was laid to rest in the Eboyin vaults of Ikoyi, Lagos, amid tears and tributes. Meanwhile, the Jeffers Jackson is portraying his uncle Michael Jackson in Lionsgate's upcoming biopic Michael, directed by Antonio Fuqua. Michael is expected to depict the complicated legacy of the man who became known as the King of Pop. According to the studio, the film will explore all aspects of his life, including his most iconic performances that led him to become the greatest entertainer of all time. The film is being made with the cooperation of the Michael Jackson estate, which may influence the way Michael disputes the multiple allegations of child sexual abuse that were brought against Jackson during his career and following his death. And that's all on Newsline, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates Ministry of Finance Board Council. National Human Rights Commission probes Army's alleged 10,000 forced abortions. Plus, Myanmar marks 2 years since military coup. Well, many thanks for watching. I am Jennifer Okolo. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.